everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations in the Cloud. It's a series of interactive sessions where we bring you insights from thought leaders and professionals from across teams at Extentia. Today, we have a man who leads by example and inspires those around him to excel and push themselves beyond the call of duty. When he's not at work, he's roving the countryside on his Harley and spending time with his family. Everyone, please welcome the head of Extentia Salesforce practice, Binu Modeda. Welcome to the show, Binu. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for your kind words, Mikhail. Pleasure to be here.
The first segment of the show is where we're going to ask you some questions that are going to kind of give us an insight into what you do and everything that you sort of bring to the table as head of the Salesforce practice. So to start with, could you describe the professional and interpersonal environment that you try to cultivate as head of one of India's most prolific Salesforce practices? How do you ensure that you're getting the very best out of your teams?
I think it is very important that when someone joins the organization, for new folks to join, that a proper leveling ground is set. And we do that in the form of an XKYT, that stands for the Extentia Know Your Team session. So we have one specifically for the Salesforce practice, where a couple of other senior members from the Salesforce practice along with me speak to the new joiners. We have around 8 odd points that we go through. We take them through various areas of the Salesforce practice. We try and set up expectations in terms of learning what would be their opportunities. We speak about those. If we know upfront what projects they're going to be on, we talk about it, and we also include the project manager in this very first session. At the end of it, we also introduce them to the mentor who will be with them through their onboarding journey, which is typically 2 to 3 weeks.
All right, thanks, Peter. Now, the second question I want to ask you is, what would you say is the biggest win or success that the practice has had so far since its inception?
I feel we have some very strong pillars who've been with the Salesforce practice since its inception. And that also is a great example of people wanting to be with Extentia, not just the Salesforce practice, but really enjoying what they do at Extentia and the Salesforce practice. The other, I would think, on the partnership front with Salesforce, I believe really looked upon or looked up by Salesforce for a few niche areas. One is the PTO side, where we are now experts, and they see our contribution to the partner ecosystem, to the customers. Often we see Salesforce referring customers or even other partners to come and work with Extentia in order to help solve the customer problem.
Right. Now, moving on. Can you talk about the added responsibility the practice now has as one of a select few global PDO experts? And you touched upon this in the last question. What are some of the goals you want to achieve in the next few years across the ISV ecosystem?
Right. So, us becoming experts, that's the top level in the PDO space. We've been at it for the last, 6 or 7 years. We have worked on a number of App Exchange projects under the PDO umbrella. While we've done some really big ones, we've knocked off quite a few smaller projects. I feel there is a lot more improvements that we can bring into this area in terms of processes, especially because to work on a PDO project is very different than working on a regular Salesforce Sales Cloud or platform project, in that security is of topmost importance. But I'm also seeing that for some of our existing PDO customers, the team knows a lot more about the product than the product team at the customers end. And I think we should be able to now recommend new features based on our knowledge of the products that they will help build for these ISV customers. So I think that would be something that we should be aiming for, more and more for both the existing and the new customers that we bring on board.
Thank you, Binu. Now, anyone that knows you knows that you have an undying passion for motorbikes. Are there any lessons from riding that you can maybe apply to working within the Salesforce ecosystem?
For me, riding is my stress buster. It is my way of recharging for the week. When I'm riding, I'm absolutely focused on the road ahead of me while I'm looking at the beautiful sights and scenery around me. On the Salesforce practice side also, there are a number of areas, work threads, topics that make up Salesforce practice. If you choose one passion for the Salesforce practice and use that as a way, something that is not part of your work, but something that is outside of your work, but still connected to the Salesforce practice, it will bring a lot more focus to the work that you do otherwise.
All right, thanks, Peter. We got one more question for you. How has the practice adapted to what's been a chaotic, topsy-turvy year, and what are some of the things you've learned both personally and professionally?
When we all went remote, we flipped the switch in mid-March last year. We also thought about how do we keep everybody in touch? How do we ensure that everybody, although we're not physically seeing each other and we're not in the same room, that you can just walk up and talk to somebody in your team, we still need to have that kind of environment, and even if it's virtual, be able to connect. Disco mode that we had for more than 6 months. The project managers for each teams ensured that they spoke to all their team members and they reported in, and then ensured that any problematic areas were highlighted and steps taken to resolve. I think that helped not just Salesforce practice but the whole of Extentia. I think a couple of other things that we did in terms of the usage of certain tools like MS Teams, for example, where we have an ask for help channel. The Step Up program also that we run, and everybody is aware of it. We continue to do that through the lockdown. So there was always continuous learning, regardless of whether you were working remotely or from the office at a later stage during the lockdown. I feel the productivity has gone up. People are spending more times with their families. I think they're in a happier space. And so that too has helped the practice a great deal.
Okay, let's get a little bit more unfiltered insight into Beenu's mind. So this next segment is going to be a rapid fire segment. So are you ready?
I am never ready, but we can go.
All right, brilliant. Okay, so let's start with favorite Extentia office.
PTP.
PDO or consulting?
Both.
Client visits or business trips?
Business trips.
Extentia coffee or Extentia chai?
Extentia chai.
Favorite Extentia snack?
Misal pav, any day.
The Beatles or Kishore Kumar?
Neither. I go with Amazon Music. That makes my own list.
All right. This is a tricky question for you, especially since you're head of the practice. But do you have a favorite Extentia project manager?
I do, but I'd rather not name them.
All right, diplomatic. Nice. Okay. What's your favorite annual party theme to date?
I think the retro theme is what I like.
Dreamforce or Trailhead DX?
The Dreamforce.
Emails or Zoom calls?
Zoom calls.
Viking or Salesforce?
That's a tough one, but I'll have to go with Viking.
Appy or Astro?
Astro.
Cody or Root?
Cody.
Forum or Express?
Express.
Beaches or mountains?
Mountains.
All right, thank you, Beenu. That brings us to the end of the rapid fire segment. Now we've got one more segment to go, and this is an Ask the Audience segment. So what we've done is we've gone around the practice and asked everyone if they have any burning questions that they want to ask you. Sneha asks, what would you do one day if you were to wake up as Mark Benioff?
So Mark Benioff lives in Hawaii, right?
I believe so, yes.
And Hawaii happens to be, Justin's favorite place due to he's one of the million subscribers of a family called Family Fun Pack. And he always wants to go to Hawaii. And anyway, already settled down there. It would be a dream come true for Justin.
Now, Jim Kinlan asks, what is the secret sauce or the most important advantage of working with a place like Extentia?
So the fact that there really are no constraints to what you want to do at Extentia and the Salesforce practice. And I believe the flat hierarchy that we have, the transparency with which we operate, and also the culture of Extentia in bringing that work-life balance, I think aids to people's success in their careers at Extentia.
And we're going to do one more question because I think this is a really nice one, and this is from none other than Komal. Komal asks, it's a two-part question. Now, what is your favorite ride to date? And would you ever switch to an electric bike?
The second one, I know the answer. I wouldn't. To me, I need to feel the vibrations of the bike. I need to feel the road through the bike. The first one, the ride to date, I have had several long rides. I've done one to Khajuraho with 4 friends, my very first long ride. But I think in 2018, we went to we were in the US for Dreamforce, and I've always wanted to ride along one Pacific Highway in the US, which is the coastline of the West Coast. And you're riding along the cliff, and on the right you see the Pacific Ocean. That was one hell of a ride for me, and my most memorable ride, I would think.
And with that, we're at the end of our show. I'd like to thank Binu for being such a wonderful guest. I'm sure everyone watching at home had a great time too. Thank you so much for being a part of this, Binu. We really look forward to having you on again very, very soon. I hope you had a great time too.
I did, and thank you for having me.
And with that, we'll see you next time on another episode of Conversations in the Cloud. As always, let's continue to do more and be more. Thank you, everyone.